to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. I'm really hoping for it today. Yesterday, of course, I was recording with Joel Elston, and about 4/5 of the way through the show, all of a sudden there was a crack of lightning and thunder, and I'm looking around like, are we going to lose power in the middle of the show? We didn't. We maintained the vibration. It worked out great. But I'm looking at the sky, and it's really dark tonight. So just in case if something goes wrong and you kind of disappear, you'll know what happened. You can just carry on for a few minutes, and I'll reconnect, and we'll be good. But hopefully it's all going to work out. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. I'm counting on it. I'm hoping so. Do I sound convincing?
Yes. We'll prop you up where you're not convinced.
Oh, okay, good. All right, that's good. I like that. And we do have a guest joining us today. Her name is Adjanys Marrero. She is an expert in metaphysics and marketing photography. Yeah, now, I saw that, and I said to myself, that's an interesting mix. There's a whole conversation in there just from the title alone, right? There's got to be something going on there. But Adjanys, first of all, welcome to the program, connecting from Los Angeles. I mean, beautiful Los Angeles. How bad can that be? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. No rain, no lightning, just perfect. I actually closed my shade a little bit because it's so sunny.
It's blinding her.
It's blinding.
Rainbow on your face.
Oh, there is. I have a little crystal on the window, and it catches me. So we'll play with it. We'll pretend it's an angel.
Perfect.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Glad to have you here. Give us a little bit of the background of how you ended up. This is like one of the most remarkably unusual self-titles I've ever seen. Metaphysics and marketing photography. How did you get from A to B?
Well, the photography came first. I was 12 years old when I was an artist. So I was like drawing and painting. And so my mom put me up on some summer program. I was 12 years old, and I learned to handle a camera in the film days.
Yes.
Yeah, fun times in the dark room, trying to open it like blind. And you're like, I am an actress. I can pretend I'm blind. So I learned to do that when I was very young, and it was just for fun. But coincidentally, that made me the photographer of the family for the rest of my life. And so I never thought it was going to be a career. I wanted to be in fashion design and wanted to be an artist. And so life, that wasn't always work out perfectly. And instead, I joined the military.
Okay.
The opposite of a photographer, the opposite of an artist. Yeah. It was my search for college money. I was like, I'm going to go to school. And that was my way. And I, to this day, still, even in the temperature of the culture, I still encourage service to the country. It's not the most comfortable experience, but it taught me that sometimes it takes a lot of work to be a soldier. I went in a wimpy little girl, and in 7 weeks, I was a soldier that knew how to shoot. I was strong. I could run. So I think that in conversations that I've been recently, everything's about like ease and flow. And I'm going to tell you something. I've gotten the best lessons out of life, really challenging opportunities. The military boot camp, it is not easy.
Yeah. So, well, that makes sense. I mean, literally every story that we ever hear on this program isn't about how they learn so much from all the happy stuff that happens in life. It's how they learn from the traumatic stuff or the difficult stuff or the painful stuff or the stuff that, I really don't like that part, but they come through the end, they say, wow, I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, absolutely. You come to be grateful. So the military, you don't have a lot of choices for careers. They stick you where you fit, and did that for a little while. But by the time I was in my mid-20s, I had left the military, had a baby, and was going through a divorce.
Wow.
And so, yes, I served. I didn't serve. I got, divorced. And I find myself a single mom, deeply unhappy with working little jobs, but you have to get to work. You're divorced. I didn't have the military or my husband anymore. And so I'm working these crappy jobs and making it through. And one day I just kind of had enough. And I told a story that I don't know exactly how it happened. Maybe I think it's really common now when you search for something and the algorithm to show you a bunch of ads. But back in that day, that wasn't a thing that was happening. I don't know how in my inbox there was a degree, like a fake degree with my name on it. I must have requested some type of information. That degree I have on my wall, the real one.
The real one. Oh, no kidding.
The real one. Woo! Because I saw it and I locked into that. I was like, I need to get a degree. That's my answer. And it was in photography. So for me, it was like, I don't want to do things that I don't want to do. I don't want to do things that I'm not happy doing. I'm not passionate about. I was doing HIV research, really good stuff at the time, but didn't want to be in that environment. It was almost like nerve-wracking to see people in so much pain and struggling and having to be in that environment all the time. So through all that, finally I had enough, got in my car. I was living in Buffalo, New York. Took my daughter.
Wow, now there's a contrast. Los Angeles from Buffalo. I mean, you can't get much more of a contrast. Maybe talk to where Jody Lynn is. She's in Canada. Maybe, but you know.
Oh, but Buffalo, Canada. I mean,
kind of the same. Yeah.
I mean, falls. I mean, so yeah, I was up there, and you know, there wasn't anything that was artistic, and it was Buffalo. It's like blue collar. So blue collar or white collar?
It's mostly blue collar. Yeah.
Mostly, yeah. And so I was like, I gotta get out of here. But it's the cold, right? I'm like, I think I've had enough of the cold. My car broke down one day just because of so much snow. The transmission went. I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I went to the school. I got in the car, and somehow, some way, with a little bit of money I had saved up, and that was the beginning of how I started my photography career. I was like, well, I've been doing it since I was 12. I know I'm good at it. It's fun. And I have a fake degree that's like staring in my eye, giving me like, hey, you could do this. So it wasn't an easy journey either. I was a single mom. I drove by myself across from back Buffalo, New York to Florida. And I stayed there until I got my degree and actually became one of the top photographers in the area within 2 years. I was the head photographer for Dillard's. And I was in charge of 5 states doing photography for the entire Southeast region. So there is something about locking into that vision and just jumping off. It's a lot scarier to do that with a child.
Oh, sure.
And I didn't give myself any options. I was like, I wasn't going to make it, you know, because when you hate your job, you get fired.
Yeah.
Or you quit, or it's not enough money. So it's like, it's just not going to be sustainable for me not to do what I love. So that took me into photography until photography hurt my heart, because we were telling women how to look, what to wear, what to do. And it just felt so inauthentic. And I was already transitioning in my life into doing a lot more personal development. I'd gone through a divorce, so I didn't want to repeat the mistakes that I had already made. I was already feeling into the law of attraction and manifestation. I was in the outskirts of understanding that. And so it broke my heart. Photography broke my heart when it was just really kind of bashing on women. I was shooting clothes for women who were supposed to be in their 50s and 60s on 16-year-olds. I was like, she's 16. What? Yeah. We put enough makeup on her, and I was like, but this is advertising for like a velour suit, you know? Like for a nice 65-year-old that's like still got it going on. But I was like, this girl's 16. And so everything just felt so inauthentic and fake. And because as I was a woman of color, in Florida, there was a lot of problems with interracial advertising.
Really?
I had pitched some ideas. You know, I have interracial kids. So I was like, this is just how the world is now. Everybody knows each other. We have planes. We can travel. We all get mixed up, you know? So I really wanted to bring that. And they were like, nope, this is the South. We're doing that. Sure. So I had to, like, that broke my heart too. I was like, I am the only Puerto Rican person in this entire building. Like, you know, so I think sometimes your heartaches lead you to your legacy. Yes. Because that's when I started to get into law of attraction and metaphysics to heal all the parts that I was like, I don't understand why this is happening. A failed relationship, a failed this, and a failed that job. It was like the best job in the world. They closed it. They're like, we're closing it. And we're just like, why? We're doing better than ever. You know, we're like having photos everywhere. So sometimes you gotta just start to look at yourself and see what is it that you got going on inside that's not making the outside work out so well.
Yeah, I know that story real well personally because I went through a similar story myself. I love the fact that you latched onto your passion early and you hung on to that through thick and thin, really. I mean, yes, you were just describing how it kind of turned against you, but I don't think the passion ever went away. What happened is that the way it got used was kind of corrupted from your viewpoint, so you didn't really want to go that way anymore. But the passion was still there. I love that you followed that because so many people today, young people, they first thing they're looking for, and I remember I did the same thing. You're looking for where's the money, and so I'm going to follow the money. And my God, that is like that's a route to death. It is a route to breakdown. It's a route to crash and burn. And I went through all that. It's not fun, let me tell you. So I first of all, I just got to applaud you for sticking with your passion in the face of a society that doesn't encourage that at all.
It's tough in art too. You have parental things that are like, artists don't make money. You have society thing like the starving artist. There's so many like kind of like stuff that is fed into it. And you know, I'm 45 years old. We're talking about 1995. People weren't making art the way now art can sustain someone. That wasn't a popular thing for you to just be an artist and live off of that. And so my mom's encouragement was like, be an art teacher. I was like, and then I'll kill myself. Like, no, I'll be suicidal for sure. And my brother's a musician. He plays jazz. And she was like, be a musician and teacher. And he was like, no. So we just like, I just couldn't see myself just being so unhappy based on the money. But I also thought that there could be money in it. So it felt like fun money. I was like, I get paid and it's fun to do versus as a teacher, I'll get paid. That's it. I would not find that very much fun because I wouldn't even know how to connect. It's just not in me to be around a bunch of little children and trying to get them. And I would be, if I had to, I would be teaching them how to draw. You know, it would still be art. So I think you're right. You can't get away from your passion, even when there's so many conflicting messages. And I can't tell you why I had that drive. I think that sometimes we think we know, but I think it's, you know, if I can start just getting as woo as possible, I think it is the divine. I think the divine is we're always, no matter how messed up we are, there is something that is pulling us towards something better. If we didn't have that, I feel like we would never be able to get out of patterns. You call that grace in church. I was a church girl, right? Like, because of grace, because of this thing that is like, no matter how crazy life gets, we get to like fall in a better place. Even when we're falling, we're constantly like, I think the Bible says from glory to glory. Can I get too metaphysical in the house?
I don't think it's really impossible to get too metaphysical here.
Okay, good. Perfect.
And woo was invented on episode 3, so I think you're good.
There you go. I was thinking like, because I've been on some other interviews, but it's been about like careers, entrepreneurship, and then I was like, love attraction. I was like, this is the one I know. I'm gonna be as weird as I want to be. So,
yeah, it's normal for us.
Say again.
It's normal for us. We welcome it.
Okay, yes. That's perfect. And you guys don't even look surprised at all. You're like, we see this all the time. You so fit into us. You fit here. So
there is no rabbit hole too deep here. There is none. There's no rabbit hole. There is no place too far out. There is no vibration that's too weird.
I mean, look at your background.
Yeah, right.
You're in the middle of the space.
Well, the reason I have that background is every time I see myself in the monitor, I'm seeing outer space behind me, and it's my way of reminding myself that the universe has my back.
Oh. I'm gonna have to take a note on that. That is so good. That's like that secret where they tell you to put millionaire in your password. So you're always typing it in, except now Google saves all my passwords. And I'm like, I don't know what I was talking about. So in my healing journey, I find myself that I just, still even though I love photography, there was something that was always going wrong. I find myself what I call the roller coaster, where I was like, okay, so I had this massive, incredible success much quicker than I even thought, and then crash and burn for a while. Like to the point where I was like, gotta get on food stamps so I can feed the kids and, take the child support and stretch it and do all these things. And then find that leverage again, get another fantastic opportunity, only to like crash and burn again. And I was like, I not having fun on the roller coaster anymore. Like I'm not enjoying this and I can't get off. It was like the death roller coaster. You just can't have it, like a Twilight episode, right? And so the only way off is to not want to get off. You're just like, but how do I enjoy the roller coaster if I can't get off? Because roller coasters essentially are supposed to be fun. And so that just was a healing journey. I was like, I am not going to be with any more men that are not, the best for me, for my children. I'm not going to live in places that are too cold. I am not going to do work that I don't love. Inclusively, when I came to LA, I did get a job, fantastic job for a big company. And because I signed a release, I can't say their name, I will get in big trouble. But a huge company. And if you think about major retailers, I would just say not Walmart, but that one, not Walmart.
Got the idea. Yeah.
Got it, right?
Yeah.
They fired me.
We'll give you an A for that one. Yes.
Thank you. I got fired because I was pregnant.
Really?
What?
Oh yeah. And when you can't contender with not Walmart's attorneys, as a person 9 months pregnant, it's just not emotionally where you can tackle something like that. It's so weird and unfair. And I was again in marketing photography, and I was like, here's photography again, breaking my heart. And I've done so much work. I was already deep in metaphysics and manifestation and even coaching and things like that. So I really got curious about what was really happening. They did pay me. They gave me some hush money, which I did take.
I love the way you phrase that, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you might as well, because you're not gonna, sue
we're not
them.
gonna say whatever that A word is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not. But it was interesting because I did have that moment where I was like, I am doing photography never again. And I had a spiritual mentor, and she was like, please don't say that. Because I think sometimes people see something in you that you don't necessarily value that much, or that you know what I mean?
That's the advantage of a mentor or a coach. That's what you hire a coach for, to see that and to help draw it out. I mean, that's what Jody Lynn is, a coach. I mean, so that's what she does for a living when she's working with her clients, is trying to draw that thing out that the person doesn't see in themselves, right? I mean, am I wrong about that, Jody Lynn?
No, absolutely. You got to see that spark. That beauty. Yeah.
Well, I was like, no. I told my mentor, no, I'm not. I'm done with photography. I'm done. And I really did pursue coaching, mentoring, and I found myself in a minister's program. Now, I curse way too much to be a minister. But I'm working with that because, spirit can use anybody, right?
Absolutely.
Cursing involved. So it's interesting.
Sometimes people actually hear the message better when, there's some curse words involved, because they relate more to that language or that level of language than, being prim and proper. They can see themselves in you.
And sometimes it's good to shake someone a little. Throw an F-bomb in there. Hey, wake up.
Yes.
But I kind of skipped over a part, so I want to talk about that part. When I was still in church, because I'm a church girl, I was already an adult, but I was still going to church periodically. And I found this amazing church in Tampa. It's called Revealing Truth Ministries. And it was still very Christian, but so less Christian than I was used to. I was like, okay, it's like a party in here. Now, I'm Hispanic, so our rituals are very lively and lots of music. And I mean, orchestra. You go in there, there's drums and trumpet playing, and you're like, oh my God, you guys should be on TV. You're so good. But because you're Christian, you can't, because you can't do things of the world, right? So there was always that disconnect of talent, but it couldn't be used outside of church because then, it wasn't for the divine. Or so into my adult life, I was being a good Christian woman, and I was praying to God, and I was in bed. I remember it till like this day. And I was like, God, if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. I will do it. And the word I heard was preacher. And I said, accept that. And I moved on with my life. I was like, ooh, I didn't think you were going to say that. So I did not like that. I did not pursue it. I was like, no way in hell. I came from Pentecostal religion, right? It's like Christianity on steroids.
Oh,
you can't save, you can't, can't do nothing. Can't listen to music. I was lucky that I could listen to oldies. So I know all the oldies out there because that was safe. That wasn't bad music. And I love me some oldies. I was like, all right, that's not bad. I like them. I was like, I'm jamming to, let me see if I think some of my favorites. They'll come to me. But I just rejected it. I was like, that is not it. And I moved on. I literally never talked to God about it again. I didn't say I didn't promise anything in exchange. So I was like, all right, at least I didn't say, hey, I'll do it. And then if you can do this. And I just said, oh, no, that's not it. So I continued with my life. Things didn't always work out. The roller coaster's going. But once I was here in California, I've had a couple of mentors that I paid for. Some mentors I just found, and I just like, I need you to love me. And they were just in my life.
I love that when that happens. It's fabulous because it can't happen often.
Yeah. And the need I think I had sometimes with the mentors that I kind of found were just kind of like the grandma I've always wanted. Older, wise women, gray hair, laughing all the time. One of my teachers was in Buffalo, New York, and she did law of attraction groups. And that's how I really started every week. All these old grannies and me. Now I'm an old granny now, but I was like 20 something, 30 something. And everybody was like, they were all retired women. And I was like, okay. And I loved it. And she really started me on this journey. She really took the fear out of it because when I was raised, everything was a devil and everything was scary. So a channel message or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, especially Pentecostal, that would not fly well.
My God. No. Oh, man. I've seen they try to take, what is it? The Exorcist, try to take spirits out of you. It's quite disturbing thinking back. I was like 12 years old. You shouldn't be watching stuff that's super terrifying like that. Come out of there, demon. I was like, like, what? A demon? So you're so indoctrinated, but it is the journey that started me here. So same God, right? Different rules, same God. So I know that I said no to that. And once I came to LA, there was a church really close to me, and it was mostly like metaphysics, right? Science of mind, I think, is what some of the actual religious term is. Really close to my house, conveniently, because it was close. I was like, yay, it's church, but it's not crazy like how I grew up. That's where I found my second mentor. And she was a pastor, and she was in the process of having her own church. And she made me a Sunday school teacher. I was like, I curse too much to be a Sunday school teacher. Look at my hands.
It's obvious. Your story is that you're drawn in. Your spirit basically draws you in a little bit at a time, just a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
Because I was saying no.
Yeah.
I was saying no. So it couldn't just like, or maybe that's the reason I was on that roller coaster, because it was like the only way that I would get back on track to doing more spiritual work.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
nonetheless, that I was a Sunday school teacher for her little church, and I loved it. I was working with a couple of little kids. I had my own little kids in there. I bought scissors and colorings, and we sang songs. Amazing. Until she tells me that one day she would love for me to have her church.
Yeah. You can almost see that one coming, right, Jody Lynn? I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no. And I just ran away. I was like, that is not what's going to happen. Now, I didn't put two and two together. These are the many times that this kind of little calling was on me. And I was like, oh, no, I'm about to be no minister. Are you crazy? So I was like, no. And so I unconsciously started to detach myself from helping out. And I was like, I got too busy. You get too busy. And I was like, no, this is not what I'm going to do. Years later, I worked with someone called Michelle Barr, and she's a coach. And she was like one of my first coaches, if not the very first one, but around there. Mm-hmm. And she's phenomenal. She introduced me to a lot of things. I'm so glad she was my first coach, because she did such a beautiful job compared to the clowns that we have out here now. So many.
She doesn't have any strong opinions about these people, does she?
Oh my gosh. I was like, please, God, I can't be a preacher. I can't. I curse too much. But she introduced me to some certain works and certain stuff. And I was so grateful that I met her. And one day I saw that her title was doctor. And I was like, oh, I didn't know Michelle was a doctor. And I investigate, just like every creepy person online. How does she get this doctor? And I recognized that she had, I don't know if it's from the same place, but this is how spirit works. It just leads you. She had a degree in metaphysics. And I was hooked, because metaphysics is philosophy. And I don't know if you could tell, I am a talker and I am a thinker. And that is my favorite place to be.
We actually do have one very good clue, because I asked you a question 27 minutes ago and you're still telling the story. So that was kind of the clue that you are.
I'm like, oh my God, somebody give her a mic. Somebody, please. Is that a bottle of wine?
No, it's water.
I was like, okay, my kind of party. Thank you for bring on the alcohol.
We'll pretend it's fine.
I was like, okay. For next podcast,
metaphysics, water,
I'll have water. Huge, and then I thought it was a bottle of wine. And I was like, wow, she doesn't even have a glass.
I'm hardcore.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so funny when you cry from laughing, right? Long story short, my investigation, I was like, metaphysics? That's philosophy. I love philosophy. I love debate. I love Socrates, all that stuff. Give it to me. So my curiosity, again, looking for that education, and Google found a school that was that offered degrees, and only there was a catch, that I actually simultaneously have to become a minister. So what? I am a minister right now. And I was like, I woke up one day and I was like, Spirit, you tricked me. I said no. I'm pretty sure like 3 times. And here I am.
Yeah.
Certified with my degree on the wall, ordained minister.
Who knew? You may not have known, but Spirit obviously knew it. Spirit it was clear in Spirit's mind. There was no doubt at all.
I was not happy, but then I was like, I love it so much. I learned incredible things. I mean, I'm so blessed that this work found me. And then with the photography, I just kind of made the connection that branding and marketing is very much like manifestation. You have to have this internal, for example, in marketing and branding, you have to know what your company is about, your mission, your passion, what you represent, your message, whatever it is, you have to know that intimately. And in order to make it right now, you got to be authentic. Like we've gotten to this point in consciousness that successes of business are either you're like really polished and really, really businessy, or you're authentic, and they're all moving to authenticity. And that is not even made up. That's just like research. You could look it up. You could like, where's the trends going with branding and marketing? And it's authenticity. Like you could see new superstars being born because they're on TikTok every day sharing funny things or things from their heart. So that's the ticket.
Yep.
And I was like, all these mystical people, we have coaches, magicians, tarot readers, we have all these amazing people that don't know how to market themselves. But if they do manifestation, which is about what's your identity, your real identity is the divine. If you study the laws, if you implement those things, there's no way that you can't have a successful brand. And I could merge those things together because they're the same work. Mm-hmm. Without an authentic brand, you're probably not going to have success. You're not going to be happy. You're going to burn out. And I tell people, you're not burned out because you're working too much. You're in the wrong line. You're in the wrong work. And so I'm so glad I got fired so many times from these jobs unfairly, because now I do photography and marketing for people who have a wonderful message to share with the world, that need to have a proper plan on getting themselves out there, because the world needs to hear what they have to say. Because what they have to say is not buy this mascara so men could look at you. Like, men are going to look at you no matter what you got going on. They can't even help themselves. You know what I mean? I get hit on when I look like a homeless person. So I'm like, you guys, I've walked into the grocery store looking like baby spit, and crazy hair. And guys are like, how you doing? And I'm like, I guess I'm wonderful, because you're hitting on me and I feel like crap, right? Your kids are sick, you're running around. So I would like to be able to use the gift that God gave me with art and creativity for those who can change the world.
That's very cool.
Long answer, but I hope that covered everything.
I think you pretty much covered everything that you could possibly cover. I mean, that's what happens when you take a half an hour. It's great. I love it.
Goodness.
It was a good story.
One question?
It is. It's a good story. Yeah. Yeah. Really good. I mean, Jody Lynn, I was actually watching your face on like the last half of that story. And first of all, whenever I see that look, I know that there's like questions going on. So I'm sure you're going to chime in with questions. But the other thing that occurred to me was every time that I see you with that look where you're doing the nod and the smile, I can just see you like you're latching on to her story. It's like, yes.
Yeah. I felt like I could tell where you were going when, you asked God what to do, and he said, preacher, and you're like, no.
I still don't like that word. I still don't like it.
I'm coming back around. How's that coming back around? I can't wait to see it. It's marvelous to watch people's journeys, and especially when they see it looking back, like all the ways the dots connect. I know for me, and when I look back on my own life, that is the most miraculous thing, is like, you think that it's like a hard left or it doesn't make sense or whatever. And like, why did I go that direction? Like, nothing really makes sense sometimes in that moment. And then you look back and you're like, oh, I get it. I get why I was here at this point in my life and why this had to happen. And then this, and it wasn't like a hard left, or maybe it was a hard left, but it was on purpose. Like, all of it happened for the better. And I liked how you said that too, that, from, I can't remember how you put it, but from blessing to blessing, everything is always for the better.
Absolutely. It took a while to get thinking like that, because I think the perspective that we're all taught anywhere, not just in church, is that that we're overcoming stuff constantly, like the comeback story. But in order for you to have a comeback story, you have to have a point that's low. This is cool. The comeback stories are great, and we have many of those. But if we can switch that a little bit around and not see those things as bad. Because looking back, looking at the pebbles or the breadcrumbs, it makes sense looking back to that point where I was in bed with my daughter and she was 8 and I was like, nope. And then all the ways, the winding road, like where it went, and all the things that I had to pick up along the way. I had to be discriminated against. I had to be like essentially fired for being a woman and deciding to have a family with a man that I love. Like, how insane is that? This is America, right? So all these things had to happen to me. So for me to say, well, there's a group of people that actually can utilize my skill better without me having to like have any lack of integrity or have to settle for somebody else's values. The entire advertising and marketing, especially for women, is all about making women feel bad. It's all about there isn't a single thing that is uplifting. When we're trying to sell somebody a cream, we put it on a girl who doesn't need cream because, she's 22 and doesn't use that cream. So like everything is such an illusion in marketing, and we allow that. We think it's okay. And I'm like, I don't think we should think that's okay. We shouldn't do it. And so my way of marketing and advertising, it just comes from radical authenticity. And really, that's the ticket to a good life.
I like what you said a moment ago too, where you were talking about the importance of finding ways. This is my wording rather than your wording. Finding ways to appreciate the things that you didn't like, because it's the hardest thing to do. I mean, is there anything harder?
No, there's nothing harder than the things you don't want to do. and the things that are going to have probably the most impact are the things that you most, in that moment as you're going through, you don't actually necessarily think you're going to overcome. It's like sometimes people have asked me, I've done a couple of these interviews, they're like, what kept you going? And I'm like, I don't actually know. I can't tell you. Most of us, we don't roll over and die when things happen. Most of us just wake up and live another day. And sometimes it could be that simple where you're just like, all right, well, I got one more day to try something. I remember that when I was doing the law of attraction classes with the grannies in Buffalo, New York, it was every 2 weeks. And sometimes I didn't want to go. My daughter was like, Mom, go. It's better when you you're better. It's go. I'll watch the baby, because she was like a teenager and they had the little guy. And I would go. And it was so interesting because, my daughter was the one encouraging me, probably because she's like, please get out of here for a while, take your crazy somewhere else. But like everything is pointing and leading you to where you need to be. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. I had a vision one time for a big vision. I was meditating and it was so big, it snapped me out of the meditation. Like, you're just so deep. And then the vision came in and I was like, are you serious? Like, that's too big. And Spirit's like, that's why we don't tell you. Sometimes it's so big that with your little peanut understanding in that moment, you haven't acquired all the knowledge, the skills, the experience. So when you get the vision too far from the future to currently, like right here, right now, the little part of you that doesn't know how it's going to happen starts to freak out and starts to try to like, how is it going to happen? And so Spirit's like, yeah, we'll see. You want to know. And then you say no. And then, you want to know. And then we tell you and it's too big. So sometimes it's going to have to be okay with you not knowing and allowing the mystery to always be something positive. Allowing the mystery of it,
I remember one time about, I'd say probably just around the time I started this podcast. I started this 11 years ago. I think it was in the first couple of years. I was in a place where I was really bad off financially. Things had been rough for a number of years. It was one of the reasons why I had started the podcast, actually, because I needed to get some experts on to teach me how to improve things. But anyway, I was trying to figure out, what are some alternative career paths I can follow? And I had been exploring that for a number of years and a lot of different things I was trying out. One thing that I kind of played with for a short period of time, and you just reminded me of it, I thought about creating a comic strip. And I had no idea how I was going to actually turn that into something that would go anywhere. But I just had this idea of a comic strip. And the only thing that stopped me is I'm absolutely horrible at drawing. So it took me a year just to learn how to do the drawing. But the idea of the comic strip was, I don't remember what name I had. I had a name for this character, but it was a character who lives in spirit. And this character's role is to help a human. And the comic strip is about all the trials and tribulations of the spirit trying to get the human to do what the spirit wants the human to do and getting frustrated every step along the way.
I
Sounds like our higher selves every day.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's a movie about my life. What? About everybody's life. So what happened? What did you do? Did you do something?
I didn't do anything with it. I let it drop. I did nothing with it at all. I just thought of it because of what you were talking about. I was kind of imagining it from the point of view of spirit and your spirit guide or whatever your reference is, who was saying, well, that's why we didn't show it to you in the first place. You were going to ignore it.
Exactly. No, exactly that. And as you're describing it, I saw it because as an artist, naturally our brains think in pictures anyways. But as an artist, like I have like that, double down on it. And so I already saw the cartoon and the little thing. And the way that I see it is kind of like non-gender. So it's like a little head and a little body, but it's just like a figure.
Yeah.
And then spirit pulling up from above. So, if you ever want to play with that, I know an artist. I'm just saying. I was talking to a friend. I was talking to a girl one time, and I was like, right? I talk a lot, and she goes, "You know what? I wrote a book, and I never did anything with it because I don't know any illustrators." I was like, "Yes, you do." Yeah. Like for the reason we were meeting, maybe that's the reason we met, and we thought it was about a photo shoot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the best thing to do, I know we all talk about surrender. Surrender's hard. I'm just going to tell you, surrender is hard.
Yeah.
But if you just let go.
I love the way she says that, Jody. If you just let go.
Just just let go. It is an adventure. If you learn to see things as positive, no matter how hard they are. My daughter had depression. She's 23. And she had ran away with a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. That was painful. That was crazy. I made God. I was like, God, if you bring her back, I will. I didn't do the preacher because I was like, I'm not. There isn't anything you can do for that. But he's like, I got you. I'm staring at practitioner. Like, what in the world? But that's the beauty of it. Like sometimes spirit is doing what it's going to do. And you may not even notice sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's primarily how 100% of us are operating. Life is better than we think. Things are going better than we imagine they are. No one's taught us to think in a more expanded way. So I get fired from a job that I hate. I'm crying, but I hated that job and I didn't want to be there. Why am I crying?
Isn't that interesting how that happens? Yeah.
They paid you to leave. This is amazing.
And it forced me to really get my thoughts behind what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Because it was like, okay, I got 30 days to find another job. I'm in LA, or you're homeless. Like LA it's a beast. So we have a lot of homeless people. And I'm like, I understand. Like you're just, when you first get here, you could be homeless in just a moment, like unexpectedly. You're just like, wait a minute, what happened? People put deposits on houses that are fraudulent. Mm-hmm. I put a deposit on an apartment and then I couldn't get a hold of the girl. Mm-hmm. But then I did. I don't know, because, I guess that I'm a preacher, I got to survive in LA. No, it was a miracle that I got my money back. But that was the thing that people did. They're like, oh, an apartment, you put your deposit down, they disappear. You have no apartment, you have no money. And so, sometimes we really have to lean on grace. If we really understand grace, it's like, what if you just believe that you're going to be okay? That's a wild concept.
Yeah.
It's
like,
simple.
The reality of it is that you always are. Like, you know, even the really tough, shitty things that you've been through, you're still standing. It didn't kill you. Like, you're still alive, and hopefully you learned something. But like, for me anyways, I can say I look back on all those times and I'm grateful that I went through them. They made me better, a better human, more compassionate. Like, sure, they sucked maybe in the moment, but I have so much gratitude and compassion and so many gifts from those moments. Like, they are good. It's always working out.
It's always working out. When my daughter was depressed, you know, it's really hard on mothers to deal with their kids' pain, because you're just like, well, pretty sure part of that is my fault, right? We got to take responsibility for, you know, our lives, and you can always be a better parent. So there's no shame in saying like, hey, I didn't know what I was doing when I was 21. I mean, my daughter's 23, and I was like, you can't be a mother. You cannot be a mother. Your child would die, you know? So, but I remember just like praying to God, and I'm just like, bring her back, please, like da da da. But then there was like a moment where I felt like I was in a storm, and I was like, storms pass, but what if this horrible, horrible thing that I was experiencing, what if it made our relationship better? And it did. Like, it was horrible. I was crying. You know, she ran away with her boyfriend. I didn't know where she was. But she came back and she got help. And then the same girl who was just like, I hate you, was like, you're the best mom ever. Right? So, like, without that moment, God knows what our relationship would be like now. It could have been because of that moment that there was an enormous amount of healing that had to happen, and apologies. I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know which ways I contributed to this, but I'm so sorry. Like, sometimes that's enough, right?
And you can't really see it when you're in the moment, because you were in that moment. And when you're in that moment, all you can see is the roller coaster. And oh my God, there's another massive curve coming. I can't handle this. I'm going to throw up. But then you come out of it and, oh, well, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And look what happened out of it. You only see it after the fact.
Yeah.
I was scared of roller coasters, and that's why I love the roller coaster analogy. I'm not afraid of heights. I don't have a problem. I'm not a very scared person. I don't know if you noticed that. Pretty brave, pretty courageous. But I would get on top of a roller coaster, and just like the feeling inside, and I would start to freak out. Like, why am I doing this? Up there in my mind. Now, my kids thought it was hilarious.
Great.
They're like, Mom, because they would look over and see the sheer panic. And it was the best time for them. And I thought it was hilarious that they had so much fun. And I'm pretty brave, but I was just so petrified. And I had this moment where I was like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of dying? No. You think you're going to fall off? No. So I started to just check in with what was causing the fear, and I couldn't really find it. So I was like, all right, it's not in my logic, so it's in my body. So let's go ride these roller coasters. So here in LA, they have Six Flags, and we usually take the boys and stuff on the summer. One of my boys comes here for the summer. So I have 3 kids. One is an adult. The 12-year-old comes here for the summer, and we take him everywhere. We do all the parks, usually little kids stuff. But we went to Six Flags, and this is teenager. This is teenage world. This is not Disney.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, these roller coasters are scary. They're big, they're long, they're just insane. And there's teenagers everywhere. So you're just like, I don't want to be around teenagers, but here we are. And we are on the top of this really scary one. And I was like, let's do that work, right? Let's do that energy work. Because I know that the most impactful time to change is in the middle of your trigger, right there in the middle, when it's fresh and potent. When that fear, that's why I love alchemizing fear into love. But you got to elicit the fear. Sometimes we want to work on ourselves when we're not bothered. And I get it, but it's just not as powerful. So I was like, I was in the bathroom, and when I came out, I was like, we are going to be done with this fear. Because I know this fear is representing something else. There's something else going on. It's never about the thing we're experiencing, right? It's about some stupid
Some
little
program.
pattern or something. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we're doing this. I am on the top of that roller coaster. The heart starts beating. I start to like just my armpits are sweating, right? And whew, it goes down. And I just let it all. I just felt it all. I let the tears come out. I was like, I'm fucking scared. Oh, I curse. Can I curse? I'm fucking scared.
The
It was gonna,
FCC has nothing to do with our show. I think you're safe.
Okay.
I was like, it's gonna come out. Lord Jesus, hold me, hold my tongue. I was like, I'm scared. But I decided, I was very conscious. I think being conscious is such a gift. I was very conscious of doing energy work in the fear. So the
Wow.
roller coaster's freaking going, and I'm like, blah, 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 doing my energy work, right? In my head. And I'm like, ugh. And then suddenly, I just allowed myself to have fun. It's like, what if it was fun? All these people are having fun except for you. The kids are laughing, throwing their arms in the air. Everyone's having fun on the roller coaster except for you. You chose to get on it. You chose to get on it. And now you're not enjoying a choice that you made. And I just pretended that I was floating up in space. And I just allowed myself to have fun.
Wow.
No more fear of roller coasters. But I did do a lot of energy work. And as I got in each roller coaster, I did more energy work. And I was like, okay, feel the sensation coming up as the little clicks, click, 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 click. You're going up. Your anxiety is going up. Click, 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 click. And then I was the one saying, let's ride it again. Let's do this again. Because I know that sometimes the only way out is through. And I was like, I have the perfect opportunity. I am scared out of my mind for no reason, because I also felt weirdly safe. I had no thought that I was gonna fall off, you know. I was like, what is it? And so I think that there's something so powerful about love, because I was like, if you focus on love, you can change anything into love. And I used that fear, and I loved myself through it, and I did the energy work. And if you're curious about the energy work, a lot of what I do is Ho'oponopono.
Okay.
It's easy. It works every time. I teach it to my kids. My kids get in trouble. My kids are going through stuff. I'm like, did you do your Ho'oponopono? My man hates it. He's like, I hate that word. I do it, but I hate when you ask me about it. And so I just insist in being free.
That's a great phrase. Insisting on being free. That to me is the ultimate statement of persistence, which I find to be one of the key elements in achieving any kind of success. And that was a major kind of success you were working on there. But wow, yeah, that was beautifully.
So we can make anything. We can make anything into a process. You can get into a roller coaster and come out completely new person. I don't know how roller coasters are. 45 seconds, 30 seconds. It feels like an eternity when you're scared.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was 45 seconds? You know?
At the end, you're like, that's it. Let's do this again.
No, let's do it again. Until you're not scared, right? Isn't it funny, though, how many times we repeat our lessons until you're no longer scared? Because, like, if my daughter is to go through something else, I know what to do. I know what, not even to tell her, not even like go to therapy. I know what to do.
Well, you're rewriting your neurological paths. You're rewriting the nervous system, and you're basically training the nervous system to accept and believe in a new thought pattern, a new belief pattern, a new emotional pattern. That's why we do it all over and over and over and over, because we know on some level we just have to keep reprogramming it.
Absolutely. That persistence again.
Yeah.
Because I think oftentimes we do kind of get lazy, and because it's hard. It's hard sometimes to sit your ass down and meditate every day.
Well, plus, I mean, the longer that you live, the more baggage you acquire along the way. I mean, it's easy for a kid to reprogram. They can reprogram like that, snap, you know. But when you've been putting up with all the crap that you put up with over your life, it takes more and more time to just kind of rewrite all of it. I mean,
absolutely.
That's what a coach does, right? I mean, you're basically training your client on how to rewrite their own programming.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny is that the reason I incorporated my metaphysics with my branding and marketing is because when I have a woman, primarily woman, in front of me, I work with men too, but the women and the men don't have the same issues when it comes to appearance. I heard a quote a long time ago, and I don't know who said it, but it was like, men always think they look better. Women always think they look worse. I'm a photographer. I'm telling you that is accurate. I see my man sometimes, and he's like, man, I look ripped. And I'm like, where?
Yeah.
Like your boxers?
Like, what is happening? Like, man, and I'm like, we must be seeing different things. And yet, I'm a very thin woman. I'm very good health, very fit. And I'm pretty sure I pick on myself way more than he does. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's just the nature of the beast. And we're working towards changing that. That's why I couldn't continue to be part of that type of marketing and advertising. So when I have someone in front of me who is a woman, she's conscious, she's doing good work in the world. She's a coach, she's a mentor, she's a teacher, she's spiritual, she's whatever she's doing, that is primarily for the benefit of others, right? Because yes, you make money, but like somebody gets free, somebody gets healed. Like that's not like the $50 they paid you for, like, the hour. It's so much more when you're free forever. Essentially, hopefully that's what I tell people, that as like your pros should be graduating you. Don't buy into that we're gonna be clients forever. You do that if you want to, but we need to be graduating people. We need to get them to their healing. That's what they want. That's what they need.
Teach them the skills so they can, facilitate themselves through the next thing that they go through, and they have the toolbox. Absolutely. Not just lend them the tools and then take them back. I so agree.
Hire me again and I'll help you.
Yeah, no.
Pay me some more money. Yeah. We love money, but we don't have to be scared. We don't have to have scarcity around it.
That's right.
So when I've noticed that when I had these powerful women in front of me, that a lot of the power that they weren't sharing with the world was because they were so insecure. And I was able to break them out of that insecurity in a photo shoot. I was like,
that's very cool.
It's some sorcery. What is going on? Like, and it wasn't from my words. I had no idea that I was doing it. This is from what they said. They're like, this has been the most incredible thing. I was like, I don't even know. Besides, like, yeah, you have some photos. What is it that makes you feel that you had that experience? Because, when you do something and you don't know you're doing it, you may be, Jody Lynn. Am I saying that right? Jody Lynn. Like when you're coaching, sometimes you say remarkable things and then you hear yourself and you're like, whoa, that's good. Right? Like you're just like, you don't know that just because it's all in there. Yeah. And it just comes out when it's appropriate. So I'm like, I don't actually know what I'm doing that's making these people have these breakthroughs and like cry. And like, I'll share one story. So I had this beautiful woman in front of me and she's like, but I feel, and I was like, are you kidding me? You're so freaking beautiful. You look like a superstar to me. So when I photograph people, I feel like I also show them what I see. And I tend to see more beauty than they tend to see in themselves. You guys probably see more beauty in me than I would probably see in myself. That's just how we're freaking wired. Why do we do that? It's not healthy, but we do it. So I was like, I would share what I would see with them. I was like, okay, here's where I see you. I see you on stages. Okay, close your eyes. So this isn't a photo shoot, right? I'm not being conscious. I just need her to be present. I need her to be attuned with her mission. So when we take a photograph, like now I could get a little bit like witchy, right? Like you're coding your images, icons, they're symbols. And you're coding that with your energy, with your essence. So it's no little thing to have your photos done, at least from the way I look at it. Because if you feel insecure while you're having your photos taken, that is what's calibrated the photo. The photo has an energetic thing that is just saying, I'm insecure. It doesn't matter how beautiful the photo looks, how polished, how made up. If you're feeling insecurity, that's what's going to be manifesting through like that presence. That's what's active. So I was like, I can't take a photo of someone with that energy. So I would have to break them out of that. So I would take them to like the best case scenario, right? I work with coaches and mentors and all types of entrepreneurs and tarot card readers. And I was like, well, what's the dream? I want to be on stages. Not a problem. Then I would just create that for them. I would say, well, Pretend you're on stage. Close your eyes. Don't worry about the camera. Close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart. Imagine all the women you're talking to. Just see them. And these women would just bawl their eyes out, and I would take the photo. And I was like, oh, that's a good photo, you know? And they felt like they were in that moment. So that energy that was coming through was authentic. And when I take that photo, now that photo is calibrated with not their insecurity, because I didn't have them focus on themselves. I focused on the mission, what they're going to do, what is their purpose, and why is so much bigger. You need to be in the spotlight because you are like a lighthouse. You need to be seen. You need to be tall and strong and shine your light. And unless you're willing to put yourself in front of the spotlight, right, literally in front of my camera, nobody's going to see this greatness. Nobody's going to get to see it. I got to see it. And if we put that in your images, wherever you put these images, everybody's going to get to see that. And it also reminds them when they feel so good, when they see those photos, they re-experience that positive emotion. So they're like, oh man, that photo shoot was so good. I felt so ready. I felt so aligned. I felt so ready for my next level. Many of them, after a photo shoot with me, have incredible success that may not be necessarily connected to their actions because they're doing the same things. It's that they calibrated into an expanded vision of themselves, and now they have proof. So I tell people, it's like, take your future version of yourself, how she looks, how she feels, how she sounds, what she's already done. We bring it here energetically, and I take a picture of that. And then you can do amazing things because it's calibrated for a bigger vision. It's something that is coming. So it's almost like a future memory. So you see, are you starting to see how I use the metaphysics and the photography and the branding? Does it make sense? Okay.
Yeah, well, we had to go through the hour story in order to get there, but once we got there, it made total sense, right? It really does. It makes complete and total sense.
Yeah. So back in the day, I think there was tribes that thought that if you had someone take your photo, they would steal your soul. There is some truth to that. It's in the form of energy. They're not stealing your soul, but you are putting your energy into everything you do, anything you create. So I was like, there's something to that. Let's put the right energy, right? Because if the very least, all you get is that moment where you felt like a star, at least that is enough. Because I believe that's where it starts. It starts in that spark where you're just like, I just felt so freaking good that day.
Yeah.
And then
you found you found a way to take somebody's passion and photograph it. That's really what you're doing.
Am I? Yeah. I want to always photograph them in their highest possible version of themselves.
Yeah.
And I can't create that, but I can elicit it out. I can just be like, okay, what's your dream? Tell me more about it. So I had this one girl who was just so gorgeous. She's got pink hair. So if you go on my website, you'll see it. So gorgeous. And she was like, oh, I don't know. And then we started playing. She really wanted to attract a romantic partner. So I do what I do. I'm just like, all right, close your eyes. It's so fun for me. It's like storytelling. And I was like, imagine a woman coming up to you and saying these things, and blah, blah, blah. And so we just immerse into that. We celebrate, take the photos, done. 2 weeks later, she goes, I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay, tells me a story. And basically everything that we did in the shoot happened, except it wasn't in a romantic sense. It was more of a friend. But the person came up to her and said, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I mean, literally almost verbatim to the fantasy that I was just like creating from her own desires. And I was like, imagine she comes up to you and she looks at you and she says, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And she was like, that totally happened. So even for me, it amazes me the power of your mind. I put that image in her mind from her desire. I don't care. Like, I don't need a woman lover. I have my guy lover, right? I'm good. So helping her get really clear on a mental picture, for me, it was fascinating that like literally 2 weeks later, she has such a similar experience. And it just really, I was really convicted. I'm really convicted that manifestation and marketing, and essentially, if you're in business, it will be the exact same work. All the internal work that you have to do is what you need to do in order to have a successful brand, successful marketing. So That's how I put two and two together. I took you guys on my entire life.
You did, yeah. And what a journey that was. My goodness. And you somehow crammed it into an hour. I'm not quite sure how you did that part, but that was very, very cool. I like
Just
that.
like we've been here for like a day.
Yeah.
You guys know everything about me. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a couple more things we do need to know. Okay. So the first one we need to know is, let's say somebody wants to hire you. How do they find you?
Okay. That is my first name. It's adjanys.com. So you can find everything about me on adjanys.com. I had it so it was just for the photography, but with the amount of new interest that I've had, I'm going to make that into a hub where I can put all my news and updates in there, and then people can click on whatever they're interested. So that way that they come in, it's kind of like the hub. So adjanys.com, probably the best place to find anything about me.
Okay. So, and we'll make sure that we include a link in the show notes so that people can find that very, very easily.
Thank you.
That's the first thing. Second, do you encourage people to contact you to talk to you and kind of pick your brain and learn about some of these things that you've developed you've actually developed it into a business practice, but do you encourage people to talk to you about that?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm a very easy to approach person, and I am hoping that no matter where life takes me, that I remain the person that is easy to talk to and approachable. I know that sometimes, schedules get busy and you don't have time for everybody, but most of the people who hit me up and find me, they will find that I will talk to them and, get on the phone and do whatever, as long as it feels really good and aligned. Very open person. I think that the more that we can, somebody's knocking on my door. The more that we can be truly connected versus like virtually connected, because we do have all these connections. Like I have thousands of friends and I don't know any of these people. So it really is, it really is fun when people introduce themselves and they're just like, hey, I saw something, I saw your content. I think that's my little guy. I saw your content and I really resonate with this. I talk a lot about going from like a Pentecostal church to being like into metaphysics and that transition. So I have a lot of people that send me the DM like, oh my God, me too. So Facebook at Adjanys Marrero, or my Facebook or my website will be the best possible options to find me.
Well, since your little guy is trying to reach you there, we're going to cut it as close to short as we can. But there's one thing I need to tell you before we part company, which is something, this is a practice I've been doing now for the last year and a half, because I've noticed, because of all that content that we're putting out there, you're on these podcasts and you do the social media and you're writing stuff and you're putting it into your hub and so forth. And there are a lot of people who are consuming this stuff that you've never met, that you've never seen, or if you connected to them, you still don't know who they are. But they're getting this stuff from you and you're helping them and you don't even know about it. And that's the part that caught my attention. Like, oh my God, you're not even being recognized for that. None of us who do this stuff of reaching out and helping people are getting recognized. So I like to take the moment and say, on behalf of those people that you've never met and you've never seen, thank you for what you've been doing, because you're making a big difference in this world.
Not fair. Not fair. Touched my heart. Thank you so much. I felt that. It struck me in the heart. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. We've so much appreciated. And then Jody Lynn, I always come to you at the end to find that one thing what's the one thread that you're going to grab today that tells us this is what summarizes it for me?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to try and keep it as short and sweet as possible, but it's beautiful to witness the standards that you've had in your life and the morals and the values that kept coming back to the table to lead you to the next thing, that authentic piece of you that kept going within to see like this is right or this doesn't feel right, and listening to that from that space. And really where it led you was a place to bring that authenticity out in others. And what I wrote was, with your photos, there's this clarity of these people's authentic light that they're supposed to bring to the world. And now they can see it, maybe for the first time. And that is just so incredibly beautiful. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking with you guys.
Yeah.
We loved it.
This is so great.
We wish you all the best, and man, just keep doing with the stuff you're doing, Adjanys, because it's very, very cool stuff. No
Thank
doubt
you
about it.
so much. Been an honor to be here. I'll talk
And
to you guys soon.
And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.